The Galactic Council station hung in the darkness between stars like a jewel carved from light itself. Inside its massive halls, beings from across the galaxy gathered to discuss matters of peace, trade, and cooperation. It was here that 12-year-old Emily Walker spent her days while her father worked as Earth's ambassador. Emily loved the station. Every corridor held something new to discover. She had made friends with children from dozens of different worlds. There was Keela, whose people communicated through colors that rippled across their skin. There was young Thorin, who taught her songs that his species had sung for 10,000 years. Emily collected these friendships like treasures, her genuine curiosity breaking through barriers that had stood between species for centuries. Ambassador James Walker watched his daughter from the diplomatic wing's observation deck. She was in the garden plaza below, laughing as she tried to mimic the light patterns that her friend's species used for communication. Pride and worry mixed in his chest. Humanity had only joined the Galactic Council 30 years ago, and many of the older species still viewed them with suspicion. The Council of Seven held the real power. These ancient civilizations had built the galactic community thousands of years before Earth even discovered fire. They made the important decisions. They set the rules. And recently, they had been watching humanity very carefully. Humans learned too quickly. They advanced too fast. In 3 decades, they had achieved technological breakthroughs that took other species centuries. The Seven did not like it. They whispered in closed meetings about the danger of allowing such a young species so much freedom. That evening, Emily took her usual shortcut through the maintenance corridors. She had discovered these passages months ago and loved exploring them. The station was so big that there were always new places to see. But tonight, as she walked past a sealed chamber, she heard voices. The door was slightly open. Emily knew she should not listen, but curiosity pulled at her. She crept closer and peered through the gap. Inside, the Seven had gathered in secret. Their voices carried anger and fear. "The humans are becoming dangerous," one said. His name was Marcus, leader of the Corthan Empire. "In 30 years, they have advanced further than we did in 300. Their artificial intelligence research alone threatens everything we have built." "Then we must limit their access to our technology," another voice suggested. "We have tried," Marcus replied. "They find ways around every restriction we place. They are too clever, too adaptable. We need to take stronger action." Emily's foot scraped against the metal floor. The sound echoed through the corridor like thunder. The door flew open. Guards grabbed Emily before she could run. Within seconds, she stood before the Council of Seven, her heart pounding with fear. "A problem," Marcus said, his multiple eyes focusing on the small human girl. "The child has heard too much." James received the emergency alert and ran to the council chamber. He found his daughter surrounded by armed guards, her small hands trembling. "Let her go," James demanded. "She is just a child who got lost." "Your daughter has heard classified council deliberations," Marcus said coldly. "She now possesses knowledge about our concerns regarding humanity's rapid advancement. This cannot be ignored. She is 12 years old. She does not understand what she heard. Nevertheless, this presents an opportunity." Marcus looked at the other council members. "Humanity needs to learn its place. You are newcomers to this galaxy. You must understand that there are consequences when boundaries are crossed." James felt his blood turn cold. "What are you saying? Your species has grown arrogant. You advance without permission. You ignore our guidance. You act as though you are equals to civilizations that have existed for millennia." Marcus leaned forward. "Your daughter's intrusion gives us a chance to teach an important lesson about respecting the established order." For 3 days, James fought. He called every ally humanity had made. He begged every species that had shown Earth kindness to intervene. Ships from Earth arrived at the station, massive warships that held position around the council headquarters. It was the closest the galaxy had come to war in 1,000 years. But the Council of Seven held firm. They claimed authority in matters of security. They said that any military action would be seen as an attack on the entire galactic community. Earth's government, terrified of a war they believed they could not win, ordered their ships to stand down. James held Emily one final time in the detention center. She was trying to be brave, but tears ran down her face. "I am scared, Dad," she whispered. "I know, sweetheart." He held her tight, memorizing everything about this moment. The way her hair smelled. The sound of her breathing. "I know. Promise me something," Emily said softly. "Do not let them make you hate everyone. Most of the people here are good. Remember Ambassador Thorin? And Keela and her family? They tried to help. They are good people. I will remember, James promised, though his voice broke. The execution was broadcast across the galaxy. The council insisted that all species watch what happened to those who threatened their security. Many species protested. The council ignored them. Emily faced her end with courage. Her last words, heard by billions across the stars, were simple and clear: I forgive you. Then she was gone. The galaxy waited for humanity's response. They expected rage. They expected threats. They expected desperate military strikes. Instead, they got silence. Within 6 hours, every human left the council station. They walked calmly to their ships and departed without a word. Across 52 colony worlds, every human packed their belongings and vanished. Trading posts closed. Scientific missions ended. Embassies emptied. Ambassador James Walker was the last to leave. He stood in the chamber where Emily had died, staring at the floor for nearly an hour. When he finally spoke, his words were recorded by the station's computers. You wanted to teach us about consequences. We learned. Thank you for the lesson. Then he walked away, and humanity disappeared into the darkness of space. High Counselor Marcus addressed the council a week later. As we predicted, the humans have recognized their error. They retreat in shame. Perhaps now they will develop at a more appropriate pace under our guidance. But Ambassador Thorin, who had tried to save Emily, stood and spoke carefully. With respect, High Counselor, I do not believe humans retreat in shame. I have known them for 5 years. They do not respond to force the way you think they do. Your fondness for the humans clouds your judgment, Marcus said dismissively. They are one species. We are 7 ancient empires. They have seen our power and chosen wisely to submit. But Thorin remembered Emily's last words, I forgive you, and wondered if her father could do the same. 3 months passed. The galaxy continued as it always had. The Council of 7 tightened their control over technology and research, implementing the very restrictions they had discussed in the meeting Emily had overheard. Then the reports started coming in. A deep space monitoring station detected strange energy signatures near human territory. When they sent a ship to investigate, it never returned. A science vessel found entire asteroid fields missing near Earth's colonies. Not mined, but gone, as if something had consumed them completely. Species that had maintained friendly contact with humanity reported that all communication channels were dead. Human space had become silent and dark. And in the shadows of that silence, humanity was preparing something that would change the galaxy forever. The silence from human space was not normal. It was too complete, too coordinated. Within 48 hours of Emily's death, humanity had vanished from the galaxy like smoke and wind. Admiral Helen Pierce stood in the observation room of a neutral trading station, one of the few humans who had not returned to Earth. She had served in deep space for 20 years and knew when something felt wrong. This felt very wrong. Show me the data again, she said to the Velen technician beside her. The alien's fingers danced across holographic controls, bringing up sensor readings from the past 3 months. Every human colony world is empty. Every mining station abandoned. Every research outpost dark. They left everything behind. Food still in storage. Power systems still running. They just left. Helen studied the readings carefully. 52 colonies evacuated in less than 2 days. That kind of coordination required planning. Lots of planning. This was not panic, she said quietly. This was prepared. Ambassador Thorin entered the room, his elderly features creased with worry. He had tried to save Emily, had argued against her execution until his own government threatened to remove him from his position. The guilt still haunted him. Any word from Earth? He asked. Nothing. Every communication channel returns the same automated message. Communications offline for maintenance. No estimated time for restoration. Helen shook her head. Maintenance does not take 3 months. Then what are they doing? Helen pulled up another set of data. Our long-range sensors show massive construction in Earth's solar system. Whatever they are building is huge. Multiple structures, each the size of small moons. But the radiation signatures do not match any known technology. Could they be building weapons? A Theron observer asked nervously. If they are building weapons, they are unlike anything in our databases, the technician replied. The energy readings are off the scale. It is like they are harnessing the sun itself. High Counselor Marcus dismissed these reports when they reached the council chambers. Humanity is sulking in their home system, building defenses to make themselves feel safe. They learned their lesson. Let them hide. But the disappearances continued. A Corthan patrol consisting of 3 ships jumped into the outer edges of what used to be human territory. They were searching for the missing monitoring station. According to their last transmission, they were conducting a routine sweep of an empty sector. They never reported back. The Council sent a full battle group. 10 massive capital ships with dozens of escorts, carrying enough firepower to level a planet. General Voss, a decorated Corthan commander, led the fleet personally. "We will find these missing ships and determine what happened," he announced confidently. "And if the humans have done something foolish, we will remind them of the consequences." The battle group crossed into former human space and found nothing. Empty colonies stood silent. Orbital stations drifted without power. It was as if humanity had simply ceased to exist. "Sir, we are detecting unusual readings on long-range sensors," his tactical officer reported. "Energy fluctuations, but I cannot determine the source." "Investigate," Voss ordered. They moved deeper into the empty space. The readings grew stronger but remained impossible to track. It was like chasing ghosts. Then, without warning, the ghosts became real. Human ships appeared. Not gradually, not jumping from hyperspace, but simply materializing around the Corthan fleet as if they had been there all along. 30 vessels, surrounding the battle group, sitting within weapons range. Voss's fleet raised shields and charged weapons, but the human ships did nothing. They just sat there in perfect formation, waiting. "What are they doing?" Voss's second officer whispered. For 60 seconds, nothing happened. The 2 fleets faced each other in silence. Then, as suddenly as they appeared, the human ships vanished again. Not jumping away, not moving at all. They simply ceased to be visible. The Corthan sensors showed nothing. No heat signatures. No propulsion trails. No energy readings. It was as if the ships had never existed. But Voss knew better. Those ships were still out there, surrounding his fleet, invisible and untouchable. "Retreat," he ordered, his voice shaking slightly. "Maximum speed. Get us out of this sector now." The battle group fled back to Council space. When Voss made his report, the Council chamber fell silent. "They did not attack?" Marcus asked. "No, High Counselor. They appeared, held position for exactly 1 minute, then vanished using technology we cannot detect or track." Voss looked shaken. "They were not hiding from us. They were showing us that we cannot see them unless they want to be seen. They can go anywhere. Be anywhere. And we would never know." "Stealth technology is nothing new," another counselor argued. "This is not stealth," Voss replied firmly. "Stealth hides energy signatures. This is something else entirely. Our sensors showed empty space, but those ships were right in front of us. They could have destroyed my entire fleet before we knew they were there." Marcus shifted uncomfortably in his seat. "One species cannot develop such advanced technology in only 6 months. It is impossible." "Then they did not develop it in 6 months, Admiral Pierce said, watching the council meeting from the public gallery. "They already had it. They have been testing it on your missing ships for months. They have been watching you, studying your responses, perfecting their systems while you congratulated yourselves on teaching them a lesson." More reports flooded in over the following weeks. Trading ships reported seeing massive construction in deep space, but when they got close, the structures simply disappeared. Scientific vessels detected energy readings that violated known physics, but could never pinpoint the source. The galaxy was starting to feel fear. Not of what humanity was doing, but of what they clearly could do and were choosing not to. Yet, a small diplomatic vessel arrived at a Velen outpost carrying a message from Earth. The message was simple and addressed to all species who had protested Emily's execution. "Thank you for trying to save her. What comes next is not aimed at you. When it begins, stay clear of Council space. You will understand why." The message was signed by Ambassador James Walker. Thorin read it 3 times, his hands trembling. "When it begins," he whispered. "Not if. When." He tried to contact the Council to warn them, but they refused to listen. Marcus was convinced that humanity was bluffing, trying to scare the galaxy into giving them concessions. "They are primitives with clever tricks," Marcus declared. "Nothing more." But Admiral Pierce, watching from the shadows, knew better. She had served with humans for years. She knew how they thought. They did not bluff. They did not make empty threats. They planned. They prepared. And then they acted with precision that made the rest of the galaxy look clumsy. 6 months to the day after Emily's execution, a single small ship appeared at the Galactic Council station. It was unarmed, broadcasting on all frequencies a simple request. Ambassador James Walker requests permission to address the full Council Assembly. He comes in peace to deliver a message from Earth. The Council, curious and still confident in their power, granted the request. Representatives from across the galaxy packed the chambers to witness what they assumed would be humanity's surrender. They filled the galleries, whispered among themselves, and waited for the broken father to beg for his species to be readmitted to the galactic community. Not one of them understood what was actually about to happen. Not one of them realized that the silence had not been humanity hiding in fear. The silence had been humanity giving the galaxy one last chance to avoid what was coming. That chance had just expired. Ambassador James Walker walked into the council chamber carrying a small black box, and the galaxy would never be the same again. The council chamber fell silent as James Walker entered. His footsteps echoed across the vast floor, each step deliberate and measured. He looked different from the desperate father who had begged for his daughter's life 6 months ago. His eyes were cold now, focused, carrying a weight that made even the guard step back slightly. He carried only a small black box. Representatives from 2,000 species filled the viewing galleries. They whispered among themselves, expecting apologies or pleas. High Counselor Marcus sat elevated above everyone else, a slight smile on his face. He believed he had won. James placed the black box on the central podium. The chamber's acoustics made every small sound clear to everyone present. Ambassador Walker, Marcus began, his tone generous and condescending. We are pleased humanity has chosen to return. If you have come to apologize for your species' withdrawal from galactic affairs, we are prepared to discuss terms for readmission. I am not here to apologize. James's voice cut through the room like a knife. I am here to deliver a message. He opened the black box. Inside lay a small stuffed bear, worn from years of being held by a child's hands. Next to it sat a holographic projector. Several council members shifted uncomfortably. 6 months ago, you executed my daughter. James's voice remained steady despite the slight trembling of his hands. You said you needed to teach humanity about our place. About consequences. About respecting those more powerful than us. He activated the projector. Images of Emily appeared, floating in the air above the podium. Emily laughing in the garden plaza. Emily playing with alien children. Emily reading in the library. Emily alive. She was 12 years old. She loved learning languages. She collected rocks from different planets. She wanted to be a scientist who helped different species understand each other better. James paused, his jaw tight. And you killed her to prove you had power. Ambassador, we have already addressed this unfortunate incident, Marcus started. I said I am not finished. The ice in those words made Marcus close his mouth. You wanted to teach us about power. About hierarchy. About knowing our place in your carefully ordered galaxy. James looked directly at Marcus. Thank you. We learned everything you wanted to teach us. The hologram changed. Now it showed star charts with 7 systems highlighted in red. Corthan Prime. Population 17 billion. Your capital world, High Counselor Marcus. Coordinates 749.22 by 331.66 by 892.11. Marcus stood abruptly. What is the meaning of this? James continued as if Marcus had not spoken. Velthros 4. Home of the Velthros Collective. Population 9 billion. Coordinates 221.98 by 776.43 by 112.55. One by one, James listed all 7 council homeworlds. Their exact coordinates. Their populations. Details about their orbital positions and planetary defenses. Information that should have been impossible for any outsider to possess. How did you obtain classified military coordinates? Another counselor demanded. Classified? James smiled, but there was no warmth in it. You think your encryption matters? You think your security means anything? He touched the projector again. We have been inside your system since before you invited us to join your council. We decoded your languages from your probe signals 40 years ago. We studied you while you thought you were studying us. Every database. Every research file. Every secret communication. We have read all of it. The chamber erupted in shocked voices. Security personnel moved toward James, but he held up one hand. A countdown appeared above the podium. 10 minutes. The numbers began decreasing. What is that? Marcus demanded, his voice rising. A schedule, James replied calmly. In 10 minutes, humanity will demonstrate exactly what we learned from your lesson about power. Is that a threat? You dare threaten the council? Not a threat. A schedule. James looked at the stuffed bear. His expression softened for just a moment. Emily asked me not to hate everyone. She said most people here are good. She was right. Most of you protested her execution. Most of you were horrified. He looked back at the council. This is not about them. This is about 7 species who believed murdering a child was acceptable. The countdown showed 8 minutes. You cannot threaten 7 civilizations at once, Marcus said, though his voice wavered now. You are bluffing. Turn on your deep space monitors. All of them. Look at your homeworlds. Technicians scrambled to comply. The chamber's massive display screens activated, showing real-time feeds from monitoring stations across the galaxy. At first, nothing looked unusual. Then ships began appearing on the screens. Hundreds of them. Thousands of them. At each of the 7 homeworlds, human fleets materialized from seemingly nowhere, surrounding each planet in perfect geometric formation. They appeared without warning, without any jump signature, as if they had simply decided to become visible. The chamber fell completely silent except for the countdown. 7 minutes. What have you done? Marcus whispered. What you taught me to do, James answered. You showed me that power demands respect. That consequences must be clear. That sometimes the strong must discipline the weak to maintain order. He paused. So we became strong. Stronger than you imagined. And now we demonstrate consequences. Admiral Helen Pierce appeared on the main screen, transmitting from the human flagship above Corthan Prime. Her image was calm and professional. All fleets in position. Awaiting final authorization, Ambassador. You cannot do this, a counselor screamed. This is mass murder. This is genocide. We are not going to kill anyone, James said, and some of the coldness left his voice. Despite what you did to us. Despite what you took. We are not you. We will not murder innocents to make a point. 5 minutes. Then what is the point of this display? Marcus asked. You wanted to show us our place. To prove you control the galaxy's power structures. James looked at each council member in turn. So we are going to dismantle those structures. All of them. And you are going to watch, completely helpless to stop us. This is an act of war. No. War implies you can fight back. This is education. Like what you gave Emily. Except we are better teachers. 3 minutes. You have time to contact your homeworlds, James said. Tell them what is about to happen. Tell them we hold no anger toward innocent civilians. Tell them we are about to show exactly how vulnerable you have always been. And tell them the only reason they will survive is because we are better than you. The counselors grabbed their communication devices, shouting orders, demanding reports. Chaos filled the chamber like rising water. 1 minute. James picked up Emily's bear and held it close to his chest. 30 seconds. You killed a child to teach us about power, he said softly. 10 seconds. Now we teach you about restraint. 5 seconds. This is for Emily. 0. Across 7 worlds, spanning thousands of light years, every power grid died at exactly the same instant. 17 billion Corthans, 9 billion Velthros, and billions more across 5 other worlds watched their lights go out simultaneously. Not from bombs. Not from attacks. From something far more terrifying. From humanity deciding it was time to flip the switch. And in the sudden darkness covering 7 civilizations, everyone finally understood the truth. The lesson had never been about teaching humanity their place. It had been about humanity teaching the Council that their place was an illusion that existed only because humans had allowed it to exist. That permission had just been revoked. The darkness across 7 worlds was absolute and instantaneous. Billions of beings found themselves without power, without light, without any of the systems they had relied on for thousands of years. But within seconds, people realized something strange. Hospital lights still glowed. Emergency systems functioned perfectly. Life support continued without interruption. Humanity had not attacked randomly. They had surgically removed only what they wanted to remove. Admiral Helen Pierce stood on the bridge of the Earthship Defiant, watching holographic displays that showed all 7 targeted worlds. Around her, officers monitored every system with precise attention to detail. Status report, Helen ordered. All planetary power grids offline as planned, her tactical officer responded. Communication networks disabled. Military command centers non-operational. Defense satellites neutralized. Transportation infrastructure halted. He paused. Confirmed 0 casualties, Admiral. Double-check that, Helen said firmly. I want confirmation that every hospital, every school, every residential area has full power for life support and emergency services. Confirmed. Medical facilities operating at full capacity. Food storage units maintaining temperature. Water treatment plants fully functional. We removed their ability to coordinate and fight back, but left everything that keeps civilians alive. In the council chamber, the screens showed the aftermath. Cities sat in darkness, but emergency lights glowed in hospitals. Trains had stopped, but ambulances still moved. The humans had crippled 7 civilizations' ability to respond while carefully protecting everything necessary for civilian survival. This is an act of war. Marcus roared, his composure finally breaking. You will face the combined military might of every species in this galaxy. Will we? James asked quietly. Let us talk about your military might. The displays changed again, showing 7 military command centers. In each one, commanders shouted at screens that would not respond. They pressed buttons that did nothing. They ordered ships to launch, but nothing happened. We have had complete access to your military systems for 3 years, James explained calmly. Every warship. Every weapons platform. Every command code. Your fleet still belong to you. We are not thieves. But right now, they are locked down for what we call a mandatory safety review. For your protection, of course. Avelthro's counselor, her crystalline body flickering with distress, spoke up. This is impossible. Our quantum encryption cannot be broken. The mathematics prove it. Your mathematics prove it cannot be broken using your technology, a new voice said. Captain Robert Drake appeared on screen, transmitting from Earth's Military Research Command. You built your security assuming certain limitations. You forgot that humans tend to ignore limitations we find inconvenient. Robert gestured and new images appeared. They showed human technology that made galactic science look primitive. Quantum computers operating at levels the Council believed impossible. Artificial intelligence systems so advanced they seemed almost alive. And most shocking, proof that humans had been inside Council networks since before official first contact. You have been spying on us for over 40 years. Marcus looked sick. We prefer the term learning, James corrected. When we detected your probe signals, we could have ignored them. Instead, we decoded everything. Your languages. Your protocols. Your security systems. We embedded ourselves in your networks before you even knew we existed. While you evaluated whether we were worthy of joining your council, we were evaluating whether you were trustworthy. Based on what we found in your classified files, we prepared for the worst. The implications spread through the chamber like poison. If humans knew everything, then no species had any secrets. No private communications. No hidden weaknesses. Humans had seen it all. Phase 2 is ready, Ambassador, Admiral Pierce announced. Phase 2, a counselor asked weakly. Phase 1 showed we can shut down your infrastructure whenever we choose, James said. Phase 2 shows what we could do if we wanted to cause real harm. But we will not. Because we do not terrorize innocents to prove points. The screens changed to show massive construction projects in deep space. Scientists in the viewing gallery gasped at what they saw. Structures that should not be possible. Engineering on a scale that defied understanding. Those are Dyson swarm collectors, a Theron scientist breathed. But the size is impossible. The energy requirements alone would bankrupt an entire civilization. Impossible is just a word people use before someone does it anyway, Robert replied. You showed us designs for these in your historical archives. Projects your species considered but abandoned as impractical. We found them inspiring. Admiral Pierce activated a detailed display of the Corthan home system. High Counselor Marcus, your civilization gets 73% of its energy from your sun. Your crops require specific light wavelengths to grow. Your entire way of life depends on consistent solar radiation. You would not dare, Marcus said, but fear crept into his voice now. Watch. In the Corthan system, millions of construction drones activated. They began assembling solar collection panels, each one the size of a city. Slowly, methodically, they positioned themselves between the Corthan sun and its planets. The light dimmed slightly. Just 1%. Barely noticeable. But the demonstration was clear. We could complete a full Dyson swarm around your star in 4 months, Helen explained as counselors watched in horror. We could reduce the light reaching your world by 50%. In 8 months, we could reduce it to 10%. Your crops would die. Your oceans would freeze. Your civilization would end in ice and darkness. This is evil, someone shouted. This is restraint, James corrected coldly. You killed my daughter in front of the entire galaxy and expected us to accept it. We could do to your entire civilization what you did to her. Permanently. Irreversibly. But we will not. Because that is not who we are. The construction drones stopped. They withdrew, leaving only enough panels to prove the concept worked. The light reduction returned to normal. But everyone had seen what humans could do. We are showing you 7 different ways we could end your civilizations, James continued. We are demonstrating that your security, your military strength, your technological superiority were all illusions. You were vulnerable this entire time. You just did not know it because we chose not to exploit that vulnerability. Why? Marcus asked, his arrogance finally shattered. Why do all this just to prove you will not use it? James was quiet, looking at the stuffed bear in his hands. Because Emily asked me not to hate everyone. Because she believed most people are good. And because I want you to understand something fundamental. Power is not about the ability to destroy. It is about choosing not to. He looked up at the council. You could have chosen not to kill Emily. You had the power. You used it to execute a child to make a point about hierarchy. We now have more power than you ever possessed. We are using it to dismantle your tyranny without harming a single innocent person. That is the difference between us. The chamber was silent except for the hum of technology and the quiet breathing of thousands of beings. The Council of 7 is dissolved, effective immediately, James announced. You no longer hold authority over any species except your own. Your special privileges, your veto powers, your ability to impose your will on the galaxy ends today. You cannot simply erase governmental structures that have existed for millennia, a councillor protested. We already have support from 847 species who were tired of your rule, James replied. They are ready to form a new democratic federation where every species has equal voice. No more councils of elders deciding the fate of worlds. No more executions to prove points about hierarchy. No more children dying because their existence inconvenienced the powerful. And if we refuse? Marcus asked. James looked at him for a long moment. Then we leave the Dyson construction drones exactly where they are. You can watch your sky grow darker each day and explain to your people why their sun is disappearing. Your choice. One by one, the councillors understood they had no real choice at all. We need time to consider terms, one began. You have 24 hours, James interrupted. After that, we proceed to Phase 3. Trust me when I say you do not want to see Phase 3. He picked up the black box with Emily's bear and walked toward the exit. At the doorway, he paused and looked back. You wanted to teach us about consequences. About power. About our place in this galaxy. His voice was quiet but carried to every corner of the massive chamber. Lesson received. We are not primitives anymore. We are not newcomers. We are the species you created when you decided that murdering a child was an acceptable use of power. Remember that. James Walker left the council chamber. Behind him, 7 civilizations faced an impossible choice. Surrender peacefully or watch humanity demonstrate just how far they were willing to go. Within 12 hours, 5 species agreed to all terms. 2 held out. The Corthan Empire and their closest ally refused to believe humanity would follow through. They were about to learn the most painful lesson of all. The Corthan Empire had ruled their region of space for 8,000 years. High Councillor Marcus carried that history in every word he spoke, every decision he made. Even as 5 of his fellow councillors surrendered to humanity's demands, he refused to bend. We do not bow to threats from primitives, Marcus transmitted to his homeworld. We certainly do not surrender to a species that learned to travel between stars less than a century ago. This is a bluff. They are too soft, too new to follow through with real action. Admiral Helen Pierce gave Marcus and his ally, the Draxan Confederacy, 72 hours to reconsider. When that time passed with no response, she gave the order. Proceed with Phase 3. But remember, we do not harm civilians. Our target is their leadership's pride, not their people. The construction drones returned to the Corthan system. This time they did not stop at 1% light reduction. The swarm grew with frightening speed. Within 1 week, people on the Corthan homeworld noticed the change. 5% of their sunlight was gone. This is your final warning, Helen transmitted directly to the Corthan government. We can stop this immediately and restore everything to normal. Or we can continue. The choice is yours. Marcus ordered his fleet to destroy the drones. Thousands of Corthan warships engaged the human construction swarm with everything they had. The drones did not fight back. They simply continued building, replacing destroyed units faster than the Corthan could destroy them. And when Corthan ships pressed the attack too aggressively, human warships appeared and disabled them. Not destroyed them. The crews were left alive, safely drifting in ships that no longer responded to commands. 10% light reduction. Agricultural reports started showing problems. Crops in the northern regions began failing. Stand down, Marcus's own advisors begged. Our people are frightened. Food production is dropping. The economy is starting to panic. We do not surrender to humans. Marcus shouted. 15% reduction. Average temperatures across the Corthan homeworld dropped by 2 degrees. It seemed small until the reports came in. Harvest failures spreading. Growing seasons disrupted. People in cities buying extra food in fear. The beginning of chaos. Then Admiral Pierce did something unexpected. She appeared on every screen across the Corthan homeworld. Not just official government channels. Every screen. Every personal device. Every display in every home and business. Humanity's control was absolute. People of the Corthan Empire, Helen said, her voice calm and clear. Your leader has chosen his pride over your well-being. In 48 hours, we will reduce your sunlight by 20%. Your food production will collapse completely. Your economy will fail. Your civilization will face an extinction-level crisis. She paused, and genuine sadness showed in her eyes. This is not what we want. We take no joy in this. But your High Counselor executed a human child to prove his power, and he refuses to accept that times have changed. We are giving you the tools to save yourselves. Instructions for contacting your regional governments. Ways to organize peaceful transition of power. Methods to demand your leadership surrender on your behalf. The choice belongs to you now, not to Marcus. 18 hours later, protests began on the Corthan homeworld. Not violent riots, but millions of people gathering peacefully, demanding their government surrender. They carried signs with Emily's picture. They chanted for peace. They refused to let one man's pride destroy their entire civilization. Marcus watched from his palace as his own people turned against him. His military commanders came to him one by one, asking him to step down. His economic advisors showed him projections of complete societal collapse. His own family begged him to surrender. I built my entire life on the belief that we are superior, Marcus said quietly to his oldest advisor. If I surrender to humans, what does that make everything I have done? Every decision I have made? It makes you wrong, the advisor replied gently. But it makes you alive. And it gives our people a future. Is your pride worth more than that? Marcus stood in his private chamber, looking at images of his civilization's history. 8,000 years of achievements. Art, science, culture. All of it now in the hands of a species they had dismissed as primitive. He thought of Emily. The small human girl who had accidentally overheard a conversation. He had ordered her death without a second thought, believing it would teach humanity their place. Instead, it had taught him his own. Open a channel to Admiral Pierce, Marcus said finally. The Admiral's face appeared on his screen. She looked tired but professional. I wish to negotiate terms of surrender, Marcus said, and the words tasted like poison. There are no negotiations, Helen replied. You accept the terms Ambassador Walker outlined, or we continue. Those are your options. You have won. Why humiliate me further? This was never about humiliation, Helen said. This was about stopping you from ever doing to another species what you did to Emily. About making sure no leader anywhere can execute an innocent person just to prove their power. You taught us that might makes right. We are showing you that right makes might. Marcus agreed to all terms. The Draxan Confederacy, seeing their ally fall, surrendered within hours. The Dyson swarm was dismantled. Power was restored to all 7 worlds. Civilian life returned to normal within days, as if the entire event had been a brief nightmare. But everything had changed. 3 weeks later, the new Galactic Democratic Federation held its first assembly. Every species had equal representation. Every voice counted the same. And hovering in orbit around the assembly station were human ships, not as conquerors, but as guardians. Ambassador James Walker stood before the new assembly to give the opening address. He looked older now, the grief carved permanently into his features. We did not want this responsibility, James said to the thousands of representatives. We wanted to explore the galaxy. To learn from you. To share what we know. We wanted our daughter to grow up in a universe of wonders. His voice caught slightly. You took that future from her. And in doing so, you forced us to become something we never wanted to be. He gestured to the human ships visible through the viewing windows. These ships represent power. Power to end civilizations. Power to reshape the galaxy. We demonstrated that power not because we enjoy it, but because it was the only language you understood. The Council of Seven ruled through fear. We removed them through superior force. But that is not how we want to lead. James pulled out a small object from his pocket. Emily's stuffed bear, worn and faded. My daughter's last words were "I forgive you." She possessed wisdom that I struggled to find. She saw goodness in species that killed her. She believed in a better future. He placed the bear on the podium. This federation is built on her belief that most beings are good. That cooperation is stronger than domination. That we can build something better than what came before. Humanity will enforce the laws that protect the innocent, but we do not rule. You do. Together. The assembly was silent for a moment. Then Ambassador Thorin stood, tears streaming down his face. We failed Emily. We failed to protect her when she needed us. I propose that this day be remembered across the galaxy as Emily's Day. A reminder of what happens when power becomes cruelty, and why we must always choose compassion over convenience. The vote was unanimous. A memorial was built at the assembly station. A statue of Emily reading a book, surrounded by children from dozens of species. The inscription was simple: she believed we could be better. Let us prove her right. 10 years passed. The galaxy thrived under the new democratic system. Species that had been suppressed for millennia shared their knowledge freely. Technology advanced faster than ever before. Peace held, not because everyone agreed on everything, but because fair systems existed to resolve disagreements. James visited Emily's memorial every year on the anniversary of her death. He was older now, gray hair and deep lines around his eyes. But he still came, still placed flowers, still whispered to his daughter. The galaxy is better now, sweetheart, he said quietly. Not because we wanted to change it, but because you taught us we had to. I hope you would be proud. Human ships still patrolled the galaxy, ensuring no species could oppress another. Every being knew that humanity possessed the power to end worlds. But they also knew humanity chose not to use that power except to protect the innocent. The Council of Seven had tried to teach humanity about their place in the galaxy. Instead, they taught humanity that sometimes the only way to ensure justice is to become powerful enough that no one can ignore it. Emily had forgiven her killers. The galaxy would spend generations trying to live up to that forgiveness. And in the darkness between stars, human ships stood watch, a constant reminder that the age of ruling through fear had ended, replaced by an age where even the smallest voice mattered. Because one small voice, silenced too soon, had changed everything.